Hello, Calculus student. This video is for Chapter 3.3, more differentiation rules. So in Part 1, we talks about how we can use the power rule, constant multiple rule, and constant rule to find derivative of it's just a polynomial function that can be, or some radical functions that can be written as x to the n. So the second part of this is still use those rules, but your original function needs some manipulating first before you apply it. So say, for example, I have this particular question, f of x equal to 5x squared minus 8x plus 1, but over x. Okay, so we have something that is add and subtract in the top, but there's a dividing, which is not very good because the rule that we introduce does not involve dividing. So what we should do is we should just divide it first to make sure that we have something that is just a list of x to the n or kx to the n kind of function. So we would do 5x squared, change it to 5x squared over x. So not doing any derivative, not differentiation, minus 8x over x plus 1 over x. So, and then this would become 5x minus 8. 1 over x is plus x to the power negative 1 changes, so it is x to the n. Now we will find the derivative function by the differentiation rule, not limit. So use rule that we know that can do 5x, do 8, and do plus x to the negative 1. So each one of them, 5x will become 5, 8 is 0 because it's a constant, and then the last one, the power is negative 1, so it becomes negative 1 to the power negative 2. So rewrite it back, so it'll be x minus 1 over x squared. So that's the answer. The other one that we need to do some work before we can use the power rule and all those constant multiple rule is when you have two things that multiply together, we don't have a multiplication rule involved, so we have to actually multiply it. Okay, and this seems to be easy. Now, later on, we actually will introduce the product rule and quotient rule, but at this moment, if it is easy to make it into a simple polynomial, we'll do that. So it multiply them is 15x to the 5. The second will be minus 6x squared. So this becomes something that is easy to do. So now we will say g prime of x is the derivative dx of 15x 5, because we add them, minus 6x squared. So the first would be the constant multiple is 15. x5 becomes 5x to the 4th. Then this would be 6 is a constant multiple, or actually negative 6 times 2x to the 1. Okay, so this becomes 75x to the 4 minus 12x. So that's the answer. I also want to do one more. Do we have space here? FG. Do I have another question? So EF. No. So let's do a G here. Some space. In the homework, that question like this: f of x equal to 5 times 3x to the let's say third. Okay. So this is the power, but this power is included, or this power does not go to x directly. It is a power of a expression of x. So you should simplify it first. So this means 5 times 27 x to the third, right? So that gives us what? 27 times 5 is 27 times 5, 135. So you should write the function itself is 135x to the cube. Now we're ready to do derivatives. So f prime of x is dx of that one. Use the derivative rule, 135x cubed. And then, so this would be 135 times 3 times x squared. 135 times 3 would be 405. So that is equal to 405. So if you have expression, if you have a power that is not just x, but an expression of x, you should multiply it out by having 3, 3, and x to the 3. The next things I want to do is product rule. So occasionally we would have cases where, like in example 1, in this case, we actually have multiplication of two expression or two function together, and instead of multiply it out and do it, maybe we just want to do it individually. The product will say that we cannot just do them individually and multiply them. That would be very easy. Instead, the product will say, if you look at the book, they actually prove it. They prove that when you do limit of two things multiplied together, it's the same as do the derivative of the first one, multiply the second expression that you do not do that is in the beginning, plus do the derivative of the second one, multiply the original function of the first factor. Okay, so in a nutshell, you can say if the function is written as j of x, and then the first function, the first component, first factor is g of x. The first factor is f of x. The second factor is g of x. It doesn't matter. You can rewrite them. Then j prime is f prime g. That means you do the derivative of the first one times g prime f. And we can remember it as fix plus gif. Fix plus gif. Right? So this I become like an I. So the way to do it is arrange your f and g. So I would write the f here equal to 2x to the 5. Just remember this is f and this is g. It's up to you. Okay. And then you have g here. G equal to 4x squared plus x. Now you do f prime. That means you do a derivative of this. The derivative of 2x to the 5 is 2 times 5 times x to the 4, right? And then the derivative of g is g prime. G prime is the derivative of it, is 4 times 2 times x plus x, derivative of x is 1. So f prime is equal to 10 x to the 4th. G prime is equal to 8x plus 1. They're usually easy things to do. Now we are going to do j prime. J prime is gif, fix plus gif. Fix is f times g. So 10x to the 4 times 4x squared plus x. Fix. Gif is g prime. 8x plus 1 times just gif is f. 2x to the 5, the one that is before derivative. Now you want to multiply it out, so it'll be 40 x to the 6 plus 10 x to the 5. And then you distribute 16 x to the 4 plus 2 x cubed. Is it a cube? Oh, this is a 5, so this would be a 6, right? And then this would be a 5. So we have two like terms that we can combine. So that's equal to 56 x to the 6 plus, oh, this is also x to the 5. So 16 plus 2, 18 x to the 5. Oh, I see a mistake. So this one is a 10. So when I add 2, is instead of 18, it should be actually 12. Okay. So 56x to the 6 plus 12x5. So that's how you do the product rule. Fix and gif. Okay, so do this one. So I will say this is fix f. F is equal to 1 plus x cubed. And then g is equal to 2x squared minus 6x plus 1. Then below it, I do f prime, which is a derivative of the 1 in the top. So it's just 3x squared because the 1 is just 0. G prime is 4x minus 6 because 1 again is a constant. So now I'm going to do j prime. Okay. Oh, I should say j prime here. J prime is equal to fig f prime times g. 3x squared multiply 2x squared minus 6x plus 1. Okay. Plus GIF, this times this, 4x minus 6 times 1 plus x cubed. And the rest is just simplifying. So it's 6x to the 4th minus 18x cubed plus 3x squared plus, oh, this have to follow. I have to do 4x plus 4x to the 4 minus 6 minus 6x cubed. And then we just a combined like term thing. So for x to the 4th, I have 6 and 4, so equal to 10x to the 4th. For x to the cube, I have what? Negative 18, negative 6, negative 24. Is it 24? Yes. X to the cube. I have a square, so it's only one of them, plus 3x squared plus 4x minus 6, really long. Okay. Then the next is quotient rule. So next we continue to do quotient rule, which is when we have the original function being a quotient of two functions, f over g. And then the rule to do it is fig, but not plus gif, but fix minus gif. That means f prime, do the derivative of f, times g without doing the derivative, minus do the derivative of g, times f without doing the derivative, over g squared. The bottom is g squared. Remember, is subtraction. Okay. When we do product rule, fix and gif are add. But when we do quotient rule, you have fix minus gif. So the first example we have 5x squared over 4x plus 3. So this is f. So the first is define them. F equal to 5x squared. G equal to 4x plus 3. So do the fix f prime equal to 10x. G prime equal to just 4 because this becomes 0 and 4x becomes 4. Now my j prime would be what? G squared. G is 4x plus 3, so just do 4x plus 3 squared. And then fig minus g, so 10x times 4x plus 3 minus this one, gif, 4 times 5x squared. So multiply the top out, so it's 40x squared plus 30x minus 20x squared. So over 4x plus 3 square. It's not cube. It should be a square, right? So it's just a square. So combined like term, the top become 20x squared plus 30x over 4x plus 3 square. So you have fig minus gif, the top over g square. So just remember that's how you do. There's another one. I'll do it in class. And then this is the velocity. Let's quickly do the velocity. We want to find velocity meanings. That is, we need s prime of t. It is a quotient, so we would do the fig and gif. This is easier. Fig f is t. G is t squared plus 1. So f prime is equal to 1. G prime is 2t. So they're pretty simple. So we will say f prime of t equal to fig minus gif would be this times this, t squared plus 1 minus, remember, this 2 multiply, 2t squared over t squared plus 1 square. When they subtract, it becomes negative t squared over t squared plus 1 square. So that's how we do quotient rule.